The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. It's nice to have former sports radio talk show host Dan Moriarty back with us.
Thanks for having me.
Perfect posture as always. Mike Catalana, co-hosting along Pat Duffy.
Hey.
Interesting outfit.
The greatest sports logo in the history of the NBA. This is a warm-up jersey jacket from the Vancouver Grizzlies from 95-96. Big Country Reeves style, Sharif Abdul-Rahim style. This is, come on, find me a better... Look at the...
What were they there, 2 years?
Can we get a Lawrence Moten mention?
1 year?
Oh, I
2
forgot
years?
about that. No, they were there for like 5 years, 6 years.
That many?
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe even longer.
Yep.
Wow, they had like no impact.
Yeah, well, hence the... What were they there, 2 years?
Danny, let's talk baseball. Trading deadline, from the All-Star break to where we are now, 45 deals involving every team in the game. There's a lot to sort through.
You could go a number of ways with this. And second wild card, I think that has an impact, obviously. Not only does that make September way more exciting, but it gets more teams in the mix. Now, there's a bunch of teams that have divisional races going on, especially in the National League. But, I guess for me, being a Yankee fan, I'll stick with the Yankees because, like I said, there's a number of ways to go with that. I think Cashman did a great job. I had talked last time I was on the show about how I was a little nervous going into this deadline knowing they needed a number 2 starter, and that wasn't necessarily out there. He didn't panic. He didn't go after like a Chris Archer, who may work out, but a guy that you'd probably have to give up some legitimate prospects for. Didn't have to give up any of their top 10 prospects. They added bullpen depth. They've got guys like CC Sabathia and Masahiro Tanaka who could get you through 5 innings in the postseason and get you to that vaunted bullpen. And J. Happ, we'll see. He's pitched well against your Red Sox, which may come in handy in the postseason.
Yeah, if he gets himself healthy again. What's he have, hoof and mouth? What struck you?
The fact that some teams are willing to give up, even, as Dan said, not necessarily top prospects, but even decent prospects or decent players on the rental type player. And I think it's gotten to the point now where you talk about that, where you got a legitimate shot to make it into the postseason, and you say to yourself, all right, are we going to make this move now? Or are we going to just say, well, we're not giving up anything? You got a shot to make the playoffs. Now, some teams, with the Red Sox and Yankees, you're trying to make moves to win the championship. I do believe there are other teams that are trying to make moves. I'll use the Phillies as an example. Who would have thought they would be buyers at the deadline with this team? And they dipped their toe into it just enough, gave up a little bit, trying to be smart, but still also realizing that a guy like Wilson Ramos, he gets healthy, he can actually help them, and it might make the difference to make the playoffs or not, but still not sacrificing what they hope is a long-term future.
Do anything for you?
Yeah, it was shocking. I'm of the hockey world, right? So in the hockey world, at the trade deadline, if you're out of it, you're getting whatever you can for these guys. I'm shocked Bryce Harper didn't go anywhere. And I know that he's the face of your franchise, but you wasted Bryce Harper. You do not find, if you look up wasted player for franchise in definition, it's Bryce Harper. You're going to get nothing for him to walk away. Why would you not take something? And you cannot tell me that there aren't general managers in baseball that were willing to throw things at you, prospects and picks, to get this guy. So instead, you're going to sell tickets for the last 2 months of the season and let him go out and wave his hat around? Okay. Why? Why is he still on your roster right now?
You know what fascinates me is the whole reshuffling of the deck. It's like, we get to this point, it's like 100 games in, you just reshuffle and you redeal. And the past few years have told us that the teams that do the best job at the trading deadline are the ones that are going to make out at the end.
It seems to, because let's face it, we use rosters so much differently than they used to in baseball, especially the bullpen. I mean, sometimes you feel like the Yankees right now could just, have the starter go 2 innings and just keep pounding into that bullpen and use it. So even if it's a guy, you're not, in the old days, it was like, we're going to pick up a closer, maybe somebody we can get. Well, now it's our 7th inning versus right-handers guy. Yeah, exactly right. 3rd inning guy maybe that you bring in. Why not, though? If you're going to make a run at it, go ahead and do it.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We'll talk Buffalo Bills next. The Press Box, brought to you in part by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 262-COMP, C-O-M-P, today. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. This portion brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Bills are in town.
Yep.
Who struck you? Who has impressed you?
Well, I'll say this. It's the first round pick. He's 6'5". They have a lot of hopes about this guy for the future. I'm not talking about Josh Allen. And Josh Allen has shown flashes, and it's going to be more of a process at a quarterback. Tremaine Edmonds, man, that kid, he is right away the starter. He already, universally on that defense, coaches, teammates, he is the starter. They know he's going to be there. He's a physical freak, I'll have to say. Nobody that big and that fast playing that position, and you see why they went for that position right away and saying it's such a key part to what they want to do for the defense, and he looks like that type of player.
Did other teams just miss on him?
Well, no, I mean, they went up and got him. In fact, I thought Bean was full of crap when he had said after the draft, if we didn't get Josh Allen where we were going to draft Tremaine Edwards higher. And it's like, okay, yeah, whatever you say, you're saying this case, you got him. And then you watch him and his size, his speed.
You know why? Because he had a plan.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
He had a plan? Wow, it's amazing how the plan worked out the way he did. Don't even get me started. I hate you so much.
Anybody else?
I'll tell you what's been fun for me to watch is the defensive backfield versus Kelvin Benjamin. Because the Bills have a really good defensive backfield, Vontae Davis being the question mark, right? But on Tuesday, we're hanging out watching practice, and there was a battle between Tre'Davious White and Kelvin Benjamin, and it was like a battle upon battle. And there hasn't been, I don't know, in my opinion, that kind of in-air competition between wide receivers and defensive backs in Buffalo in a very long time. And Tre'Davious White, one of the best corners in the league. And Kelvin Benjamin is going up over him with Tre'Davious White in his hip pocket, a hand in his face, and making these unbelievable catches. It makes me feel a little bit better about the Bills' receiving core this season.
You know that, and it brings up a point, bringing White up. They've drafted well in the 2 years they've been in charge, which would lead me to believe maybe that there's a better chance that Josh Allen succeeds.
Yeah, hopefully they hit on the quarterback. And like Mike mentioned with Edmonds, I mean, he looks like a Madden creative player. When you see him out there with his size, his ranginess, he looks like a freak. So if he can live up to those expectations, he comes in with a pedigree. I mean, his entire family's in the NFL. So that has a meaning as well. But Benjamin, to me, is an interesting one. He comes in a contract year. You look at what he went through last year. He lost his mother last year. I believe it was in July. Came to camp incredibly out of shape. I mean, which you could understand going through a situation like he went through. Kind of had to get himself in shape throughout the season. Went through that knee injury last year. Went through a trade. Last year it was about as tumultuous a season as you could possibly have as a player. This year's second year with the Bills, or at least first full season with the Bills, and has looked really good at training camp. So when you look at a guy like Kelvin Benjamin, who needs to be good for them this year considering their wide receiving core, he's gotten off to a good start.
You know what else I like about him? Last year, during the season, his knee's banged up. He's not healthy. He's playing the one game in the brutal snow, and he ended up making a really nice catch for a touchdown. Nothing phases him. And we talked to him about coming into the contract year, and some guys, it's not about, I'm not worried about the money. Honestly, with him, I think he knows he's going to get paid. I think he has that confidence that he's that kind of player, but it doesn't seem to faze him. If he can get through last year and still be a pretty upbeat guy, with, he had Tyrod, now he's got maybe a rookie or McCarron, whoever, or Peterman throwing him the ball. I think that bodes well for him to be here long term.
Who's the starter opening day as you see it now, Danny?
The starting quarterback? Yeah. Ooh. As of right this moment, A.J. McCarron.
Mike?
I'm thinking McCarron all along. Until we see the preseason games, I can't say for sure. So if I'm saying today, McCarron, but I think Allen still has a legitimate shot.
We've changed it every week.
Peterman's a gamer. When he shows up in those preseason games, it's going to start swaying opinion. I'm sticking with Peterman.
All right, now I'll go with McCarron. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. This portion was brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Like it or not is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not, how about those New York Mets? 25-4 down to the Nationals first day after the trade deadline.
Well, Nationals keep all their players and go out there and play. So maybe that bodes well for them in the second half, or I guess it's not really the second half of the season, but the latter part of the season here as they try and make their way toward the postseason. The Mets, on the other hand, isn't that like the perfect way for them to start post-deadline?
How did it get so bad for them so quickly?
That's a great question. I mean, with that pitching staff, and obviously injuries always play a factor, they haven't necessarily had the lineup to compete. And that division flipped itself, too. So when you see the way they started the season and then the young teams
really
like the Phillies and the Braves, the way they came, they've really come on this year, I think, ahead of schedule. They've lost any momentum that they had.
You got to be fair to them. They won April, though. The Mets did.
You smug Phillies.
They won April. No,
Man, Mets fans were spouting
and
off,
you
too.
don't base your team
Yes, they
on
were.
so many starting pitchers, and especially these guys, because there's so many things that can happen. I think the best way to set up a team, an ace, a solid second and third starters, and load up that bullpen. Seems like the Mets wanted to corner the market on every starter. They handled the Matt Harvey thing, and he handled
they
it
fixed that and decided not
as
to.
poorly as possible, and then it all started to go down. And maybe they should be looking to unload people and start over.
Yeah. Pat, like it or not, the Dallas Mavericks going more conservative with the outfits on their cheerleaders.
Yeah, I find this very unique that Mark Cuban is a guy who has no problem making waves, and he's doing this to, gain a little bit of clout within the community here, but you're going to cover up your cheerleaders, which is fine. We live in a much different world than we did when the advent of cheerleaders started. But why have cheerleaders? And I know that is really crass and might even sound misogynistic, but like the existence of cheerleaders to begin with was, well, here's a little bit, look at this, boys.
At any level, because now you're talking about a full half-hour discussion.
What? No, am I wrong? I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Like, am I going?
No, I'm with you 100%, and here's why. The Mavericks are in trouble because their president was a pig and got
you're right.
caught in sexually harassing women. There's a big difference between a woman in her office doing her job getting sexually harassed, but we're going to fix it by choosing to cover up women who are cheerleaders who choose to do that as part of their profession. Like, that's going to fix it. They're looking for the visual to say, oh, look how good we are, because Mark Cuban wasn't paying attention to what was going on in his own business.
But in the defense of Mark Cuban, you're absolutely right about what you said. Listen, the Bills have had their problems with lawsuits when it comes to cheerleaders. The NFL they're dealing with several different separate lawsuits. Just get rid of them. Why do they exist? Is anybody that goes to a sporting...
San Antonio did that.
But why? Does anybody that goes to a sporting event like, yeah, man, can't wait for the cheerleaders to come out here. Cannot wait. I don't have the internet at home. So this is what I got.
All right, moving right along.
Yeah.
Like it or not, the NBA strikes a deal with MGM Casinos.
Adam Silver doesn't care, right? He has embraced the whole thing with gambling, and you know what he's doing. He's making money. He's figuring a way to monetize, not just to say, oh, we're okay with gambling. Oh, no, we're okay with gambling, and you're going to pay to be the official station, the official casino, or the one that gets data from the NBA, things you can use to set your betting lines and to work. He's way out in front, like he is on many other things. The NFL, slow to react, even though that's the sport I think there'd be a lot of betting on. And I'm not surprised one bit that Silver's doing
And he
this.
didn't use that term integrity tax, which everyone else kind of went, we don't know how we get it, we just want our money. I think they were proactive about it.
Yeah, they're using the technology part, but the reality is they're saying you're going to make money on it, we're going to get our piece too.
This is the Rochester Press Box. We are presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business is next.
Here is the MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
In now to Eichel. He floated one.
Look at those guys, triumphing over the afternoon.
Because he went on a Dunkin' run and got $2 snacks.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
The Dunkin' Run menu. Delicious $2 afternoon snacks.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. And Mike, this is our 300th episode.
Wow. Wait, we're going to... I thought we were celebrating with something.
But between the two, between the two of us, I think we've missed only one of those.
And that was the good one. That was the good show.
That was a really good show.
Really good. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, you weren't there.
This portion of Unfinished Business is Unfinished Business, and is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. We'll let Pat start.
Big, exciting news if you're a basketball fan in Rochester. Big-time college basketball is coming to our area. The Bryant Stratton Bobcats. I'm not kidding. Bryant Stratton will have a basketball team in Rochester, New York. And there's other Bryant Stratton campuses across the country that have them. I don't believe it's an NCAA-sanctioned conference. It's just intercollegiate college basketball. It makes me wonder aloud again, why has RIT not jumped on the full Division I sports bandwagon? Rochester is a city with a ton of basketball history. Colleges in Division II and Division III that used to fill up arenas for people to come see, right? An NBA championship that resides in the Blue Cross Arena in downtown. And the excitement for RIT men's and women's Division I hockey has been sustained for the last couple of years. When they play well, people show up. You would have the market cornered. You would have a bunch of people who would love to go sit and watch small conference basketball at RIT, and you have a chance of being featured on a national stage, much like the team was early on, the hockey team, when they made the Frozen Four. They have the money. They have the facilities. They would have kids in Rochester that would stay. What is taking RIT so long to pull out Division I basketball?
Yeah, I think the St. Bonaventure experiment's gone really well. And, of course, they got Syracuse coming in. That's got a guaranteed sellout, just about.
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Yeah, I would think it would. It's a matter of making that full-on commitment. Do they want to go there with all sports to make them Division I?
But lacrosse even would be competitive right away.
Yeah, they've been excellent in Division III.
Danny.
I want to talk about the Buffalo Bills defense. We've seen nationally how the national media feels about the Buffalo Bills, some picking them to be the worst team in the NFL. And I think one of the reasons why they're completely underrating this team is because they haven't looked at what Buffalo's done on the defensive side of the ball. They've paid all their attention to what Buffalo's done on the offensive side of the ball with brand new quarterbacks and changes along the offensive line. Now, locally, we see some people kind of really jacking up the expectations on this Bills defense. I've heard people saying they could be a top 5 defense. Eventually, I think Buffalo could get to that point. You look at what they've done in the draft, getting a guy like Edmonds in the middle of your defense, especially with what they've done up front to help with their linebackers, with the middle of their defensive line. And then their secondary, if healthy, could be one of the best in the league. Problem being, and why I would pump the brakes on talk about being a top 5 defense, is the offense. It's tough to be a top 5 defense if your offense isn't at least somewhat consistent. If your defense is constantly on the field, and a team that's getting worn down because your offense can't get first downs, it's going to be tough for the Bills to play consistently at that sort of an elite level. Now, if the Bills can run the football this year, can kill some clock, and can flip the field like you need from your offense, we could see this team, especially in spurts, play at that sort of level. Next year, I think we could be talking about the Buffalo Bills as a top 5 defense. I think it's a bit early just because of the offense.
But the defense could bring them up.
Yeah. All right, who would think that Malcolm Butler, an undrafted free agent, could play such a key role in the demise of 2 championship football teams? Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks, right? They had their chance against the Patriots to win a Super Bowl. All they had to do was run the ball. Undrafted Malcolm Butler makes a play. Seahawks lose. From that point on, division in that locker room, division with the quarterback, and the next thing you know, the breakup of the Seattle Seahawks. And then you go to the New England Patriots. They have Malcolm Butler on the team. They're playing the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And for whatever the reason, Bill Belichick decides to not play Malcolm Butler in the game. Doesn't feel like telling anybody, doesn't seem to tell his teammates, doesn't seem to tell his players, certainly doesn't tell the media. Malcolm Butler doesn't play, now he's on another team. And now you see a change in the way things are going for the Patriots. Little breaks, little time, Tom Brady away from the team. I'm telling you, it's coming. The end is coming. And I think it's coming fast for the New England Patriots. And I think Malcolm Butler is a key guy. We saw it happen with the Seahawks, not the level of New England. And now it's happening with the Patriots. And Malcolm Butler, undrafted, is right in the
middle. Of course it's going to happen.
You sound like a crazy old man on his porch. It's going to rain one of these days. Oh, we need it. It's going to.
Doesn't it rain?
Yes, it does rain. You have years.
It's the smugness that comes.
But
from the
look at what's
Philadelphia
happened.
Eagles.
But look at what's happened here. The Patriots have made moves in recent time they could still have Jimmy Garoppolo as a quarterback for that team, and then the future for the Patriots would be a lot
That
different.
will haunt them.
How do you know you don't even know Garoppolo? Okay, I'm not.
How's that again?
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse and Unfinished Business, is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. Danny, thanks again.
Thanks
Great
for
as
having me.
always. Guys,
Thank you.
300 in the bag. We'll move
Look at
on to 301 next week. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.